Hi guys, and welcome back to How I Failed in Business, a podcast that's out to prove that failure isn't the ending, it's usually just the beginning.
That was
what?
good.
Was it
that
okay?
Was good. That wasn't even scripted.
The side eye made me nervous that
No,
messed
I was
it up.
just impressed, surprised and impressed.
Anyway, flawlessly as ever, I'm Sophia Grace, joined here with...
And I'm Rob Spence.
You just jumped the gun.
Sorry.
And the incredible this week, we've got Adam Horton in.
Hello.
Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming. I've been buzzing to have you on. Ever since I thought about it a couple of weeks ago, I've been waiting eagerly to have you join us. I'm sorry we've not asked you sooner, to be honest.
Well, I'm excited to be here. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I realised upstairs that I made a mistake because one of the things that prompted me to get you on the show was a good friend of ours, Mittel. Shout out to Mittel. I know he listens to every single episode, hopefully. He shared a podcast that you'd done elsewhere. And I thought that was like recently, but you've just told me it was years ago.
Yeah, I think that, from a couple of years ago, I think. And it was a estate agency kind of based podcast. So yeah, but I can't even think back to remember what we spoke about in that one. Hopefully you found it useful.
That long ago. But look, it's led us here, which is fantastic.
So obviously, just said, perhaps giving it away that you were on an estate agency podcast, but for the people that might not be familiar, sort of want to give us a bit of an intro into what it is that you do?
Yeah, so my main focus is running Hortons, which is an estate agency business, but it's a bit different to what your typical kind of vision of what an estate agency should be like. So when people think of estate agents, they think of high street offices and properties in the windows and suited and booted agents. But we're a bit different because we operate across, at the minute, 22 different territories, and it kind of spans from Derbyshire right down to North Devon. So really, really wide area. And each of our agents, instead of opening up a high street office, they are self-employed kind of franchisees that operate under our brand. So it allows us to expand into new areas when we find the right people to work with. But also from a client's perspective, they are the kind of go-to person for their local area. They're there to work with them from start to finish, so they get better accountability, they get the single point of contact, and then because the agents are self-employed, they get a much bigger share of the commission that we charge clients. So they often earn a lot more money, and that helps with helping them keep highly motivated. So kind of everyone's a winner, really. And but yeah, we call that an estate agency brokerage, and it's more kind of similar to how it works overseas, particularly in like the US. So yeah.
And can I just say a bit of a plug for you here? I've recently used Hortons to sell my house. And it was the most, I'm not just saying this because you're here, the most flawless, seamless, most impressive setup that I've witnessed with estate agencies.
Thank you.
Yes, ever, but also obviously during purchasing of a property. Yeah. So I'm using Zoe, one of your agents. So Zoe came round on a Thursday evening, I think, Thursday afternoon. We agreed to get to work. She came over on Saturday to take some photos. She then put the listing on the Monday. By sort of the end of Monday, we had 4 viewings for that Thursday night, 2 of which put in an offers, 1 above asking price, and sold like within a week. She even fed my cat during these viewings. But yeah, great to work with. And even now, whenever she needs anything, it's a quick WhatsApp. We just communicate nice and quickly. Whereas when some of the properties we've tried to buy, and obviously we're not here to slag off all other estate agencies.
We can do if you want.
They've just been so difficult to talk to communicate with. And, even now I thought I'd built a great relationship with this gentleman in this estate agency. And, talking to him, knew each other really well, got on really well. And then I get an email from him like 2 or 3 days ago. Because of how far that property has now progressed, he won't deal with us. Now it's gone to a progressor or something like that else. So we've developed a great relationship with this guy, and now it's like, for anything else you need, I'm no longer part of it. Just speak to whoever. So I will just say massive kudos to what you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the brokerage model and going self-employed. Like, it takes a lot of experience and courage for agents to make that leap to go self-employed. which means that the bar needs to be really high. Like it attracts a certain type and quality of agent with the right experience to be able to stand a good chance of doing it, because it's a brutal change going from a traditional high street agent where that you've got the reliability of a salary and a brand that's kind of producing leads for you, to then being out there and essentially being self-sufficient, and that just attracts really, really high quality people. So it's kind of self-regulating, and Zoe's the perfect example of that, of someone that's been in the game for a long while, knows the industry inside out, back to front, and the reason that you've had the experience you've had, I think, is just when you get someone who just knows what advice to give, they know how to handle a situation, they know how important communication is, it just makes life a lot easier for people. So not only is it good for our business model, like the main reason we're trying to push this model, and we're such advocates for estate agents to go self-employed, is because it's actually better for the clients. So but I appreciate the feedback.
It's the best experience I've had. And even on the purchase of this new property, I wanted a bit of Zoe's feedback in terms of just pricing, because there was a bit of bargain hunt, kind of haggling over the price in the end. I think it got down to £50 in the end, give or take, know. So I just wanted to use her as a sounding board, and there was no quibble, there was no, this is not what I'm here for. It was like, actually, I've had a quick look, XYZ, good price, it's exactly what I'd look for. So where's this motivation to create this new sort of formulation of agency? Where did that all stem from?
So interestingly, this and on the topic of failure, the version of Hortons we're talking about now is version 2. So I originally started an estate agency business in 2013, and in 2013 there was a lot of kind of national brands starting. I say a lot of, there's probably like 3 or 4 that were really well funded, had some really experienced people behind them. Most notable ones are people like Purple Bricks, and they were pushing a business model that was going to be predominantly managed online. So you have like a portal you log into, and also they were doing that to bring down the cost for clients as well. So they're working on a fixed fee basis. That space of time, my idea was like, let's take all the best things of what these big brands are doing, but do it on a much more localized and personal basis. So we charge a lower fixed fee, and effectively we're like a local but online estate agent, which at the time worked quite well, because we got some good kind of market share. Like at that, when I started the business, I was 20, and it felt like a couple of years in, I had a few employees and a little office, and things were going quite well. But the problem was we just weren't making any money. We were really struggling to expand, and we were winning a lot of business because we were cheap. And the only way to make money with a lower cost service is to sell in volume. But by selling in volume, it meant not prioritizing customer care in the way that we wanted to. And when you're selling someone's house, it's such a big, like huge part of someone's life that you can't let people suffer with a bad service. So to get out of that situation, we closed the business down and kind of had a reset for kind of probably the best part of a year before then starting again in the business model that we know now. And the reason that we moved into this business model is because all of the online agents that started it doing the low fixed fees, that hasn't lasted, because not only is it not valuable for businesses like I was running, it's none of those big online agencies have been able to make a profit really. So a couple of them have gone out of business. Purple Bricks ended up being sold for £1. So that's just an example of the struggles that it had. But what it did do was create a new understanding that if you're an estate agent, you don't necessarily need to go and work for a high street agent anymore. There were other options, and they were the businesses that kind of paved the way and really changed the conversation in the industry. So we thought, okay, well, let's capitalize on that kind of new understanding in the industry and offer agents the ability to go self-employed. And this time around, it's gone a little bit better, thankfully.
Thankfully, I let my first ever house off of Purple Bricks. That's a blast from the past. I haven't heard that name in a while. Terrible service, terrible. So obviously, to even sort of conceptualize the idea of kind of striking out on your own, starting this whole agency business, even the original version of it, where did that kind of idea come from? Have you always been sort of entrepreneurial, knowing that that's what you wanted to go into?
Yes, basically. From a really early age, I can probably pinpoint it down to my mum and dad getting a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad for teens for my brother. It wasn't even for me, for a Christmas present one year. And I think that just started conversations in the house. And my mum and dad have been in business for they've run a business for my whole life. So I'd been around that kind of conversation, and I'd had other people in my life saying, oh, you want to do something to be self-employed or start a business or something. So, but then, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was this first idea of what passive income and accumulating assets, and that kind of opened my mind up. And I think at about the age of 14 or 15, I was thinking, well, clearly this is the best way to do it. So then that just sparked a journey of just trying and failing at an endless amount of kind of business ideas and stuff, and some were more successful than others, but all of great learning experience. But it did get to a point where there was one business that I was running in music events and nightclub promotions, and I was about 17 at the time, and we'd suffered a few losses, and it just wasn't going well. And I thought, okay, well, I just need to find a job that's going to give me some experience. And I thought back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and obviously the Robert Kiyosaki's was a big property investor, is a big property investor. And I thought, well, what's a good way to learn about property? And it was to get a job in an estate agency. But I realised quite quickly that I actually had no idea what an estate agent did, because in my first job interview, he ended up employing me, so it couldn't have gone that badly. But he says, so what's your understanding of what an estate agent does? And I realised at that moment that I had no idea. I just knew it was something to do with houses. But yeah, I ended up getting the job and finding something that I really clicked with. So that was, to find something at, say, 17 years old that you feel like you could make a career out of. Looking back, I can now appreciate how unusual that is, because it usually takes a lot of testing and finding things out, doesn't it? So grateful for that experience, and it's led on to everything else.
You mentioned obviously parents with their business. It's I'm going to ask you a question that's probably going to be really hard to answer, because it's a lot into the unknown. But so you started working in this estate agency, and then obviously then the original Hortons came along. Do you feel that you would have still had that entrepreneurial reach or that entrepreneurial drive to start your own estate agency if your parents didn't have their own business?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think I think I probably would have, but it all comes down to the environment I was in. If my mum and dad weren't running a business, this is pure luck of like how you've ended up on this planet and who your parents are and stuff. But we've got family that have been involved in business and stuff like that. So I think even if that wasn't a part of my life, I think the idea of understanding the benefits of entrepreneurship would still been there. And I'd say probably there's a pretty good chance like they would have still bought that book, because I mean their understanding of that and what they wanted to do for me and my brother, they would have got their influences from their parents and their family, I guess. So I'm sure it would have found somewhere. But so that's one element. The other element is that through school I was never particularly academically gifted, and so and which is something now, having kids of my own and thinking about them going to school, I'm really conscious of the fact now that I felt out of place through the school system, and as soon as I found something that I could kind of latch onto, and I felt like, okay, this is something I can do. It's just selling stuff and meeting people and building relationships. That completely changed my mindset, because you've gone from a system that you didn't feel like you fit into to something that you gel with, and hopefully I would have found that in one way or another, because then because if I didn't, I would have been getting to the end of my A levels and feeling like, well, I've got to go to uni now because that's the right thing to do, but never really gelling with it. So yeah.
Good answer. Like I say, it's very open-ended. Who knows what happens, in the universe. So you've got the first concept of Hortons, that's all running. Obviously, you get into this stage where it's not making the money that you mentioned, and so on.
Yeah.
What was the big thing that made you think, right, we need to stop this now? What and how did you go about that, and how did you feel?
I think one of the things that I tried to do with that first version of the business was to expand into lettings and property management at the time. And part of the thinking for that was...
I think we should be okay.
Yeah.
There's always something. There's either an alarm, a lawnmower, or a delivery, isn't there? But no, I think we're okay.
I lost my train of thought.
Lettings, property management.
Yeah, so we thought, okay, well, if we're struggling with sales, let's try and find other revenue streams. And I just tried to do that before, not without having the foundation of a really strong sales business that kind of could keep the business alive. Venturing into other things was just going to put even more strain on the business, and I didn't realise that at the time. So it just meant that it got to a point where we'd accumulated more costs to try and facilitate that, and the sales side of the business wasn't stable enough. And I just was looking down the road at difficult cash flow problems, and so it just got to a point where I was like, I'm at a tipping point now where to survive this, I need to take on debt, find investment, do whatever to go through. But at that point, in your early 20s with no assets, like living with your mum and dad, you're not going to get a business loan because you're not profitable and you've got no assets, and no investor is going to want to put some money behind a ship that was so clearly sinking. So so it just got to the point where I was just like, right, cut losses, try and get out of this unscathed without any debt around my neck. And I knew but one of the benefits of doing it at that age is you know with 100% certainty there's going to be something next, and something to get yourself back on the front foot. You've got very little to lose, so I think I tried to lean into that flexibility at the time.
Nice.
I like that.
And you said that there was this sort of short gap before you then conceptualised Hortons as we know it now.
Yeah.
That gap, I assume there was a lot of probably brainstorming, thinking. Were you immediately sort of thinking, let's get back into something? Did you foray into agency work, or what was that time sort of spent doing?
So I spent a bit of time with another agent, and which, funnily enough, ended up getting sacked at that company.
I've been very eager to hear about
this. So I didn't spend very long there. It was a few months, and when I say got sacked, I kind of was ready to go anyway.
Yeah.
But the company I was with, it was all sparked by a surveyor that I now work with really regularly, get on well with, and we've got a great relationship. He came in and he said, "Oh, thanks for sending over that survey," and gave me a bottle of wine and a gift card. And so it's just a little something to say thank you. And he was sitting on my desk, and my then boss came in and took them off my desk and says, "Oh, that's for the company, not for you." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough, but that's a bit disappointing because you gave it to me." But and now looking back, you can see how those little things make such a big impact when you've got a team around you. It's the little things like that make a difference. But I ended up kind of addressing it with him the next day and just saying, I don't agree with why he did that. And it wasn't, I think it was like a £30 gift voucher or something. It wasn't going to, it's not like a huge amount of money, but it was just the principle of it that I just didn't agree with. And then the next morning after that, I was called into an office and ended up getting shouted at and kicked out the door, saying within a matter of an hour. And it then, funnily enough, fast forward to when I'd relaunched the business, one of the first agents who joined us also worked for that same agency and had a very similar experience. For me, that was a lesson in. There was some good things that I took from working there, and it was in an area that I hadn't worked in before, so I learned some stuff. But it also gave me a real understanding of, okay, when I'm looking after a team, like how do I want my team to look at me? And you can learn from those bad experiences as well, can't you? So, but I think it was just the fact that I was kind of, I suppose, in a way, standing up for myself and just saying I didn't agree with something, and so it wasn't anything like I hadn't dramatically fucked up.
Mate, little things like that annoy me, because I'm the same. We've had it before where a client might have brought in a bottle of Prosecco for an individual that's done some good work for them. That's the team member's bottle. That's nothing to do with they've done the work. Yeah, not me. And like I say, for £30 gift voucher and I'm guessing a 10-20 quid bottle of Plonk or whatever, just
it makes a difference.
It really does. Yeah. It really does. I mean, we're all about sort of client relationship, but you've got to have, I know it's not the same client relationship between manager and employee, but you're not going to retain staff just the same way that you're not going to retain clients.
No, exactly.
I mean, it was a great story. It wasn't sort of like jaw dropping up, punched him in the face kind of story. But I can't imagine anyone shouting at you. That's what surprised me the most. You're the most laid back, placid individual I've ever met. Like I don't know how you'd react if someone would shout at you.
Well, I didn't really. I was more kind of just sitting there thinking, is this person actually? Well, I've never in a business environment, or personally really, never shouted at anyone, and I'm just like, and there was another occasion that week where I'd brought in some business, an old client of mine, and I had this same person on the phone to them because they rang up for something, and just being overly aggressive on the phone. And at that point, I was starting to think, is this the right place for me to be? But yeah, it's at the time I was thinking I can't understand why this is. How this is even happening. So I was happy to leave.
No problem.
And then leads us on nicely to Hortons Part 2, which we'll come on to after the break.
Yep.
But before we do that, I'd like to play our first game with you, Adam, if that's all okay.
Yeah.
Right, so the first game we're going to play is called Fail or Fiction. Mm-hmm. Okay, so put simply, the easiest way to put it is 2 truths and a lie. Mm-hmm. Okay, business edition. I've got 3 stories to read out to you. 2 of them are true. 2 things happened. One of them is a completely false, made-up story. You've just got to guess which is the false story. So it could be anything to do about businesses, brands, products, marketing, mishaps, anything. Yep. Okay? You're kind of against Sophia. You're kind of not against Sophia. We want some competition going on, but let's keep it civil. Let's not get too aggressive. So, you understand the rules of the game?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll read out the first statement. So we're going to start with DeLorean's financial collapse. So the DeLorean Motor Company, famous for its gull-wing sports car featured in Back to the Future, great film, faced financial ruin in the early 1980s. Founder John DeLorean was arrested in 1982 for drug trafficking in a desperate attempt to save his company. Although he was acquitted, the scandal contributed to the company's downfall. So that's story number 1.
Okay.
Next up, we got Starbucks and their hot dog experiment. So in 2007, Starbucks tried to diversify their food offerings by introducing gourmet hot dogs in their European stores. The experiment was a complete disaster, with customers rejecting the idea of buying hot dogs from a coffee shop, which led to its swift discontinuation. And finally, we always seem to have a Coca-Cola story on these, always. But finally, we got the Dasani disaster. Bit of a tongue twister. So 2004, Coca-Cola launched Dasani bottled water in the UK. It was discovered, however, that the water was sourced from a public reservoir and contained high levels of bromate and carcinogen. The launch was a disaster, leading to a full product recall. So you've got DeLorean's drug muling, Starbucks and the hot dogs, or the Dasani disaster.
2 of those are...
2 are true.
2 are true.
One is false. What's your initial, what are you going with, what's your initial thoughts?
So I remember watching a documentary about the DeLorean story. I can't remember the drug trafficking, but it was, I'm sure there's a story about him being a bit of a, like interesting like character, a bit of a player in the business scene. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was true. So I'll go with that being true. And hot dogs, I'm sure there's a story about Howard Schultz very reluctantly like bringing in anything other than just classic coffees, and so I would be really surprised if he brought in hot dogs. And then the Coke, I'd kind of I know they did try water at some point. Okay. So I would say that the first and last stories are true.
And so you're thinking that the hot dog is the fake story?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I believe that the first one definitely is true. The last one, I know that Dasani is a water brand in the States still now. You can buy Dasani water. I don't know if that's where it's from or what's in it. The thing that is really getting me about the Starbucks is that these were in European stores. Yeah. Because people aren't eating hot dogs really anyway across Europe, are they? Across the continent?
Oh, I love a hot dog.
It's a very American thing.
Are we classing
very
ourselves?
American.
Oh, okay.
I think if you had said that this was at Starbucks in America, more so I'd be like,
that's true.
Would they just take a run at it? Oh.
You gotta remember these are gourmet hot dogs as well.
Gourmet.
I just want to.
Does that exist?
It does say
that
gourmet
feels
hot
very juxtaposed. I agree with you. But I don't know whether to be perhaps contrarian when I'll say Dasani just to be different.
No,
I believe
you can go together.
Can
if
we
you want.
agree? We'll agree then. I think
you
Starbucks is false.
Okay, so I can confirm that the Dasani story is true. Okay, so yeah, launched in 2004. It was just tap water. No different to Only Fools and Horses, Peckham Spring or whatever it was.
I love it.
And Americans still buy it now. They still buy Dasani water. It's just tap water.
Yeah, so it did launch significant failure due to the contamination and, most importantly, the misinterpretation of the water source. Like, how does a company even think that that's going to be a good...
Look, if Del Boy can do it,
Exactly. So that leaves us to DeLorean and the drug trafficking and Starbucks hot dog experiment. Well, for the first time ever, because I think it's the first time you've ever sided with a guest. So you are both correct.
Yeah.
So you both got it right. So DeLorean. So I should have probably fact checked this a little bit just in case we get DeLorean on our backs for misinterpretation or misrepresentation. But so he was acquitted. The founder, John DeLorean, was arrested in 1982 for drug trafficking. And it just led to loads of financial difficulties. And yes, Starbucks hot dog experiment, false.
Yeah.
Completely made up. So they've clearly experimented
their
with
food
loads.
Sucks. I hate Starbucks food.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hold on. I agree, but I do love their little egg bites.
Oh, I've not had that. I like the cake pops.
Are they egg bites?
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean.
They're gorgeous.
Their bakery stuff's okay, but their sandwiches and stuff are
awful. Yeah, I wouldn't...
I think it's maybe because I'm comparing with Costa, which is now M&S food, isn't it?
Is it? I didn't know
that.
Okay. Yeah. The egg bites I love. I've found a recipe to make them at home as well. They're so
exciting.
I'll have to try them.
They're so damn good. But no, thanks for playing Fail or Fiction. It's a good game, isn't it? It's a good game. Wait till Mystery Mishaps later. But we're going to take a very short break and we'll be back in just a second. Do you need digital marketing services?
No, you cut me off.
You weren't going to say anything.
What even is digital marketing? That's something we hear from clients all the time. It's an ever-changing world on the internet at the moment, and you can't be expected to know it all, but we can. And we do. You can contact one of our digital marketing agents today and find out exactly what services we can offer you. Are you struggling with social media management, personal branding, website design, SEO? Would you like to see what paid ads might be able to do for you? Or perhaps you want to run a new campaign over email? We can handle this all for you. So get in touch today.
Should I have looked at you? So?
You do the rest of it.
You were smashing that. I don't want to take that over. Yeah, visitors at www.paragonsalesolutions.co.uk. I'm very blessed to have a great digital marketing team. We've got Sophia, who has come in and absolutely smashed it. And we've got Molly, who is an ever-present gem of a digital marketing whiz. If you need any help in getting more bookings, inquiries, leads, sales, anything like that, get in touch. Hello and welcome back to How I Failed in Business, joined by Adam Horton of Hortons. So just before the break, we were talking about, the breakup of the old Hortons and then your sacking as well, which is very dramatic. But that then led to Hortons as we know it today. So what? Tell us a bit about that journey. When did that happen and what was the catalyst?
Also in that brief period after I got stacked very quickly, I ended up getting a job at a law firm. I was their national sales manager.
I do remember. That's the one I was talking about upstairs.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, which was a great experience because I met Jason Hathaway, who was owned Edward Hanson Lewis, which if you're from Leicester, they're well-known brand, had high street offices and stuff, and who I think is a great entrepreneur. And also it put me in a position where I was mainly dealing with estate agents that were providing business to the conveyancing department. And so I was suddenly obviously dealing with an industry that I know really, really well, but seeing it from the other side and being able to go out to lots of other estate agencies and look at ones that were really successful and ones that aren't, and be able to understand the culture of their businesses and speak to the owners of those businesses and work out what was making them successful. I kind of I was probably doing that role for kind of 9 months or so. And by the end of that point, I think my vision for what a successful estate agent needs to be like in terms of its culture, its branding, and its kind of positioning in the market was like so clear that I just knew that I needed to give it another shot. And so that kind of intel that I was able to get from just kind of taking a step outside of the industry, really, really helped. So I went to Jason and told him that I was leaving and setting up on my own. And he ended up being really supportive. He let me use a desk. In return, I had to send him conveyancing business. So it worked well for him. But he let me use a desk in his office, and he was there as a bit of a mentor, a bit of a guide in the early days, and that's what kind of where it all started. So yeah, and the obviously at that point I mentioned earlier about the brokerage model coming as a result of the Purple Bricks and other agencies kind of creating a new route for estate agents and not just having to be self-employed. It was also at a time when kind of you just started to see the cracks in that business model. So people were starting to look elsewhere. And so as a result, we set up the brokerage and within the first kind of year or so, we'd picked up our first couple of agents and started to get some evidence that it was actually gonna work. So we just went full steam ahead. And so a few years we were kind of finding our feet. Obviously this takes us up to 2018, 2019, where we'd built a bit of a solid foundation. And then not long after that, the pandemic hit, which just at that same time, we'd decided to raise some private equity money to help with our expansion. And so that funding completed in the December of 2019, and January started to hear about this mystery virus, and it started to get very nerve-wracking of like what's going to happen. And then come February, March, the property market closed. We were doing no viewings, and wondering how we're going to fare and what happens next. Obviously, it made it a little bit easy because we just raised the money and had some cash in the bank. But it was still very like nerve-wracking time. And then on my birthday, the 13th of May, 2020, we were told we could do viewings again. And at that point, in 2020, you couldn't really do anything else. You could meet up with one other person and go for a walk, or you could go for have 10 viewings on houses that day, which is just bizarre. Yeah. But it meant the property market, and also they were obviously trying to kind of stimulate the economy. So interest rates dropped massively. They put incentives on stamp duty and all sorts of things. So it was this kind of cocktail of a situation where people didn't have any of the distractions. They were saving more money because they weren't commuting and going on holiday. And it was cheaper than ever to get a mortgage, and it just meant that the property market went absolutely bananas for most of 2020 and 2021. And as a result, we grew really, really quickly, kind of going from maybe 5-6 of us when I first worked with you, Rob, in 2018, to, I don't know, best part of 55, 60 people in about 18 months. So that was quite a big change. And estate agency businesses, because it's very hard to build market share, local people need to get to know you and trust you. That rate of expansion under a brand and estate agency it's fairly unusual. So it was quite a there was lots of kind of learnings throughout that about how to take a business from being a very small group of people, where everyone's kind of been there from the start. Everyone mucks in and does, and there's no one's job's done until everyone's done sort of mentality, to then a company with two opposing cultures, because you've got people coming into the business that you've got to have the right systems and processes and policies and procedures, and you've now got a lot of people to look after, and doing that in a short space of time was really, really valuable experience. But it was a really difficult thing to manage. But looking back, it was like we were really lucky the market reacted the way we did, and it served us really well and created a really strong foundation for the business for today.
Amazing. We've lost Sophia to hay fever, so
you go.
try to step in. So in terms of the business now, obviously you've just got some new offices that you've taken on and stuff, and I keep meaning to say, because I've seen I say a good friend, I've done a couple of charity bike rides with him. Chris has done really well with you. Is it?
Yeah,
it is Chris,
Goodwin.
isn't it? Yeah. Like, when you face, there was nothing in your face. It's like, shit, is his name Chris? Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he's done really well for you. He's been with you like, what, 4 or 5 years now, maybe?
Yeah. So he joined us, he handed in his notice during the lockdown. So he took a massive gamble, not knowing how the market was going to react. But he's done really, really well out of it, and he's becoming known as the kind of go-to person in Market Harborough, which is his kind of area, and got an incredible reputation. And I mean, you've had first-hand experience with Zoe, but that's what we try to do with the whole team, is get people like Chris and Zoe and the rest of our team that are really passionate about what they do. And Chris is another amazing example of that.
Yeah, it's great. Are you okay again
I'm
now?
okay
Are you ready for your
again
question? Right.
Yes. So obviously you've seen this sort of really rapid growth, and it's happened very quickly. You've sort of gone from like 5 to 50 team members, and that's all happened over the span of about 18 months, you said. So obviously that growth, was that something where you always knew it's going to hit this point where it's going to kind of stop, or were you like, what's going to happen now with this?
No, I think actually one of the kind of failings in some ways is that when you're in that kind of phase of growth, you can easily get caught into the trap of thinking it's just going to carry on like that forever, and it didn't. So we've had to react to that, and that's just part of the ups and downs of the journey, I guess. But in hindsight, we should have been better prepared, and but yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But basically what happened, it was kind of triggered by the Truss budget in the back end of 2022. Obviously that created a lot of uncertainty, and as a result, Bank of England started putting up the base rate, and for then a lot of 2023, buyers and sellers didn't know where the base rate was going to peak at. You were kind of staring into the abyss thinking, how high could this go? How expensive a mortgage is going to get? And then it's only over the past year where inflation's kind of got under control and people have been regained a bit of confidence. But it just meant that during that time period, people were a bit nervous, and that meant that we were doing a lot less volume, and we needed to adjust as a business to react to that. And so that's taught me lessons to always be conscious of the fact that you've got to be ready for the downside, and you've got to be prepared for that. And so I think that will help guide us in kind of markets that do boom in the future, to always have that in the back of our mind and be prepared that things could change.
So were you, from the conception of the new Hortons and through all of this process where you've got these vast amounts of team members, were you following that brokerage method right from the jump, or were you kind of still the traditional estate agency at that point?
No, it was the brokerage model right from the start.
Right from the start.
But a lot of the people were the self-employed agents. But to facilitate all of that, we still needed a lot of head office infrastructure, anything from people answering the phones and booking and viewings through to a marketing team and operations and compliance and all the stuff that comes along with just getting a little bit of scale. So suddenly the business gets a lot more complicated very quickly. Because, like I said, at the very start, everyone with any small business, you just got to muck in and get the job done. Do you know what I mean? So
and was it at this point that you sort of branched outside of Leicester, or has that come more recently?
No, we'd been outside of Leicester probably from about 2019 or so. We started in Nottingham. That was kind of our second focus. We're still in Nottingham. We've got a few really good agents that cover areas of Nottinghamshire, but then it's probably since 2023 that we've branched much further afield. We've got a really good presence with a brilliant agent in Banbury, Oxfordshire. And then more recently we're down in Barnstaple, North Devon.
I was just going to say, didn't you go down to Devon recently? I'm sure, something, yeah. So
which is obviously it proves that the business model works wherever you are. It's all just about the right people. So.
And can I ask, because obviously that's a massive leap, if you're looking at territories, was that a decision led by yourself, or did an agent approach you and say, look, I want to be a part of this, or was it?
It's a mixture too. I mean, we talk to agents anywhere. It's not geographically dependent about where we expand. There's certain factors or boxes we need to tick to know that a territory has sufficient transaction levels and it's big enough to sustain someone. But the most important thing is finding the right people, because we do have agents that join us that they're not successful and it doesn't work. The reason it's all about the right people is that the business model we know is successful. We've got some amazing success stories of agents that are earning it isn't all about the money, but it's probably the easiest metric to track, but earning 4 or 5 times as much as they were in their employed roles. And this is life-changing situations for them, and it all comes down to they've got the right mindset and are doing the right things. And the ones that don't work, it's because either the mindset's not there or they're not doing the right things. So we know that the model works, and so our main aim is kind of trying to pull in as many agents as we can that we know can make it a success. So if that person happens to be in Barnstaple or I don't know, in Norfolk or wherever, then we'll go to them.
Amazing. We'll make sure we definitely leave you contact details for anyone listening that wants to.
Yeah.
So you've got now this incredible team around you and behind you, and that's sort of enabled you to focus on your own priorities as they might have grown or shifted, because you do have a young family.
Yeah.
And how did that sort of a completely different sort of path in your life that you've now taken? Yeah.
So pre-kids, time is this endless resource. So with knowing when my daughter was going to arrive, I was a bit kind of nervous about how I was going to juggle all these things. But actually what it does is, what's that? Is it the Parkinson's law, where a task takes the amount of time that you allocate to it, rather than like, you know, if you've got your homework to do and you need to get it done for the next morning, you'll get it done even if you've had 2 weeks to do it. So I think what I realised is that actually it, having less time, because I needed to be there for my now kind of family, it made me way more focused, and it made me really conscious of the things that I needed to do that were actually going to move the needle and actually move the business forward. So I've actually found that less time has made me more productive and more effective as a leader. So if you want a productivity hack, have kids. And so that was the first thing. But also it made me prioritize time away from work, because I noticed that if I was conscious about work-life balance and being present with family and stuff like that, it makes you a better leader, it makes you make better decisions, and gives you more energy, rather than being kind of caught up in the kind of, I don't know, just staying in the weeds of the business all the time. So yeah, that's been really helpful. And then the other massive thing is this kind of realization about like my own health as well, and like how much that matters. Both of you, like your energy for the business, like you need to show up and have energy to lead the business properly. But it was kids that made me kind of, I suppose, take a step back and realize that I wasn't on a great trajectory a couple of years ago, and completely changed my mindset towards health. And yeah, that's been the other major shift as well.
Yeah, and can I just say, you know, I did make a comment upstairs, you know, like you've done really well over the past 18 months, 2 years, give or take. You know, you went through a phase of being slightly larger than what you are.
Skirting. So
I'm just being really delicate, and I do sound like a massive hypocrite right now. But you're looking really, really good, and I've
you, mate.
Loved seeing what you've been doing. I think you set up your little Hortons running club, didn't you? How's that been going?
Yeah. It's not been going over the past few months, but we want to do a bit more of that again, because that's another thing, you know, when like, especially as a leader of a team, then it's great if you can form a club like that, or your team get involved in anything that's going to be like good for your health. Like even might be just going out for a walk at lunchtime and stuff. Like that makes such a positive impact on the people around you. Whereas if you're got bad habits, and there's like it was for me, where there was deliveries coming into the office like a couple of times a day, then that's not good for setting a good example for anyone. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe we need to do something there. Molly, you run, don't you? Maybe we could set up a little Paragon running club maybe at some stage. But do you think that the focus on your personal health, has that made then an impact to your business?
Yes, definitely. I think more than anything, it's just I think energy is the main thing. But when you're in a better state of mind and you've got more energy and you feel better in yourself, I think you show up to other people better, in the sense of like, whether that's for the business or for family. You if you're struggling, or you've not got the right mindset, and you're not getting your body moving, and I think all of that just feeds into a bit of a downward spiral. And as soon as like I broke that, I felt like I was doing a better job for the people around me. So and that gives you more motivation to keep on doing it, because you don't want to like revert back to like even things like just like not having the energy to play with the kids or whatever. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like I'm talking like as if I was like not able to move.
You weren't wheelchair bound.
No. But it was the stage of like I'd go for like a run down the road, and I'd last like 30 seconds before wanting to pass out. Yeah. So that's not great if you're chasing around the kids in the garden. Whereas I'm enjoying the benefits. Not only do I now enjoy things like running, but being there for and got the energy for family.
Yeah, and I saw you did a wolf run recently, I think, with Luke. Didn't you? Our good friend Luke at Gambit Partners, I think you did.
Yeah, we did it was the Spartan run over at Beaver Castle, and but things like that a couple of years ago, I would never imagined doing anything like that. Because I wasn't the person who would go and do that. Like, I just was never going to sign up for anything like that. But B, physically, I would just be incapable of doing it. And a couple of years ago, a lot of the members of our team entered a wolf run, and I went to spectate and cheer people on at the end. And I thought, it was almost a shame that I wasn't involved in doing it, but I just knew that I just physically wasn't able to do it. So to now go from watching the team do it to now actually doing it myself, it's probably a physical challenge that I've had like the most sense of accomplishment for, just by getting to the end of it. And Luke's a good coach to have with you, because he's been into fitness for ages, but he's militant, and was dragging me along at times. But you know that thing, you're average of the 5 people you spend most time with, and if you've got people that are a few steps ahead pulling you along, then that's all it can take to help you get to the end.
Absolutely. Well, I've just had the wave from Molly that we're slowly approaching the end. So what we'll do, if you're happy, because there's a couple of more things I want to dive deeper into, we'll play our second game. Yeah. We'll do another very short break, and then if we can maybe pinch you for another 10-15 minutes just to dive in some of the little bits and bobs. Is that all okay?
Yeah, sounds
perfect.
Good.
So we'll go into our second game.
Yeah.
Now this one is Mystery Mishaps. Okay. So Mystery Mishaps is a simple game. I'm going to share with you 5 clues all about a business. It could be a business that's gone bust. It could be a brand that maybe made a mistake and smuggled drugs to sell its cars, or, it could be a software that we no longer use. It could be anything, okay? It could either be gone completely, or it could have nearly gone and come back, okay? Today's Mystery Mishap is all about a retailer. Okay. So the company was established in 1973, became a household name for its extensive catalogue shopping experience, offering everything from electronics to furniture.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
To diversify its business, the company launched a financial services division, offering loans, credit cards, and insurance products to its customers. Okay. Any initial guesses?
I've got one in my head.
Okay. Adam?
Do they have shops?
At this stage in the game, I cannot confirm nor deny if they have shops or not.
Okay, yeah, I've got a bit of an...
Okay.
One word has given me a clue.
Yeah, okay. And I tried so hard to take that word out of everything. Okay. In 2018, it was uncovered that their financial services arm had been mis-selling PPI to thousands of customers, often without their knowledge or proper explanation of the product. Okay, we've got some blank faces. We're gonna go for the next one. The scandal resulted in the company facing substantial fines from regulatory bodies and being required to pay compensation. And our researchers have said, I think it was around £30 million to affected customers.
Is that all the clues?
No, we've got one more.
Oh, okay.
We've got one. Are we still sticking with the original answer? Or?
I'm just holding on to that one word, but I'm not familiar with this.
Okay. Have you got any inclination?
I'm just trying to think. What's throwing me is that they sell furniture as well as household stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then PPI.
Yeah, and then financial services. So I was thinking about maybe they did like selling stuff on finance, like Littlewoods or.
Right. There's a blast from the past.
Yeah. Or I don't know whether Woolworths did that. Or
we've had Woolworths before. I'll let you.
Could you imagine getting pick and mix on finance?
Yeah. Oh no, but I am struggling.
Okay, final clue. And I don't think this will help either of you, to be honest. The financial and I'll start that again. The financial and reputational damage from the scandal contributed to the eventual decline of the company, leading to the closure of many of its stores and a shift to online-only operations.
Okay. So they're still around and they're just online.
They're still around.
If it's the company that I'm thinking of, they've been absorbed by someone else.
Okay. Okay. So you've shouted out Habitat.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that your final answer? Just I'll open up on that final clue. So they did shift to online only. Their stores have made a comeback, but not in the same kind of format as they were before.
I'm going to go with Habitat then.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Argos because you said catalogue.
Fuck's sake. Yes, it's
Argos.
It's Argos. And I tried so hard to take out any reference. And then I the second you read something and you go, I've said the word catalogue there.
Well, Argos
that's gonna give it away.
own Habitat, don't they? So can I have half a point for that?
We'll give you
now
it.
owned by Sainsbury's.
We'll give you it. Yeah, so Argos. So, obviously Argos are still going. They have been swallowed up by Sainsbury's, haven't they, I think. But, I was thinking about this when I was putting this together. How weird was the whole concept of Argos?
Well weird.
Do you remember the little machines?
Yeah.
Typing in the little code, getting all the little magazines
It
open.
just makes me think of Christmas and your mum
Circling
being like,
things
circle what you want.
We used to do that. We used to leave the Argos book open, on the things that you wanted, just as a little clue. I wouldn't ask my mum for something. I'd just be like, oh, bearing in mind there's 50
and
products.
Look at this.
Just hoping for the best.
But then there was Littlewoods. Is Littlewoods still going?
I'm not sure.
Don't know.
No, it's not Littlewoods I'm thinking of. Do you remember Index?
Yes.
They were across the road from Argos. Literally the same concept.
Oh, really?
So,
They were in the Haymarket.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, and Argos was just across, wasn't it?
Yeah. Still had the machines, still had the little codes.
Going back some way.
There was a massive Argos as well, wasn't there, by Curry's in Foss Park?
Yes. Yeah, there was. Yeah. So that's not there anymore then?
I don't think anything in that bit is there anymore, really, is it?
It's an Oak Furniture Land and and a PC World / Currys / everything else. But no, thanks for playing Mystery Mishaps.
No, it was good.
We'll have to get.
I love these. I could do this all day.
Yeah. We've gone through so many. It's been quite fun actually, and there's so many things I've been learning. About the whole DeLorean thing. There's so much to pick up on. But we'll take a very short break, and we'll be back after these messages. Podcasts have had a massive boom recently. They've been around for a while, but they are right in the forefront of everyone's mind right now. And I've no doubt that people listening to this will want to start their own podcast. What should they do, Sophia?
They should get in touch with us at Paragon Creative Studios.
Absolutely, they should.
Whether you absolutely don't know where to start with podcasts and you want us to fully produce, edit, and everything in between, we can handle that. If you just want some space, if you just need some kit, we've got every different offering that you could possibly look at so that you could design your perfect podcast.
Absolutely. We've got 3 separate recording rooms over there ready to go, ready polished, and we want to hear from you. So perhaps you've got a great story to tell. Perhaps you want to market your business by using the power of podcasting. Maybe you want to interview some of the best people that you know. Whatever your podcast idea, we'd love to work with you on it. All you've got to do is visit www. I don't know why I said www. That's like a given, isn't it? All you got to do is visit our website, paragoncreativestudios.co.uk. Give us a Google, send us a message, and we'll get everything set up for you.
How exciting.
Hello and welcome back to How I Failed in Business for the final part with Adam Horton. So, Adam, upstairs, we were just kind of prepping, getting set up, and you've shared with us some of your failures, but you've counted, over the years, you've had maybe 14 or 15 failures. I mean, without sort of literally naming and listing each one, you can if you want. What? Tell us some of those stories.
So just to give some context to this, now I can look back at them and appreciate how all of them were like stepping stones, and it's kind of given me a real appreciation for failure, and like my whole attitude now is shifted, where you almost kind of go. Obviously, you don't want to fail, but you go seeking for opportunities where failure is an option, and understand that and know that if failure does happen, that you've built almost like a body of evidence in all of the other failures, that that even if it doesn't go to plan or you have a failure, that it will serve you in some way and allow you to move forward. And I think once you've got enough of that evidence behind you, then it means that you can go into any situation, any opportunity, just trusting the process. And so now my relationship with failure is positive and doesn't scare me at all because of all these other experiences. And I think like anyone that's maybe at their first failure or something, or they're looking at taking a risk that could end in failure, or going for a tough time or whatever, it's a case of it all makes sense like 6 months later when you come out of it and you can look back and you think, actually, I learned this, or it led on to this conversation or this opportunity, or I met this person. And none of that would be possible unless you're willing to take a risk and be willing to fail. So now, it's a really positive like force, and you can embrace it. But going through those businesses, I don't think I could list the names of all of them, but just give you a
I wasn't going to test you. I've not got them all down here.
There's things like I started a online ticket sales website. I Want Tickets, and that was mainly for like local events, and we charged a commission on each ticket sale, which I eventually sold that business to another event organizer, and started a music agency, a booking agency. We did nightclub events. I did music events, so like literally putting on bands at local venues and stuff like that. And some of these were like, when I say putting on gigs, like in some of the events we got a couple of thousand people through the door and stuff, and others we got 10. So, so there's a real done a printed local business directory that used to go through people who used to do 20,000 booklets of local business.
I didn't know you did that kind of thing.
Yeah. What else? A cleaning company. For a little while I was a drum teacher. So
play the drums.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
To a good standard.
I worked my way through all the grades, and I got a kit when I was probably 6 or 7, and I haven't really played much since I got into my like mid-20s. But so yeah, I'm okay.
I never knew that about you. Never knew. Okay.
So that was what else? My mind's gone blank.
Sorry, that was my fault with the drums, to be honest.
like just a whole range of different types of businesses and like industries, and it was all just a case of like, I know I want to run a business. So for a long time it was, well, I've come up with an idea, so you just got to do it. And some of them lasted like a couple of months, and some of them lasted like 6 months, a year, 18 months. And obviously those ideas, those businesses I was running, there was a certain amount of them that happened when I was still at school and was doing it as like a just on the side when and others I was applying to it like full time, and to do that I left, like for example with the nightclub promotion, I left school when I was doing my AS. Oh no, I did AS, but then I left shortly after starting second year A levels, and did that full time for a little while, and so yeah, and that's what kind of got me out the education system, to which eventually led me to getting into a estate agency. So yeah, it was just this like just constant focus to just find something that was going to work, like, and which is weird because if you know you want to run a business, half the time you're worried about like wasting time, like you don't want to do something that then ends up like just not working. And but I kind of quickly found that like there was no other way to do it other than just to give everything a shot, and eventually find something that clicks.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, we mentioned upstairs, and it's the whole basis of the podcast. We all fail, things go wrong. Sometimes it is a catastrophic disaster. Sometimes things just don't work out. But I think if you can find the positives and the learnings and the education from all those mistakes and the failings, and it really helps.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always tough when you're in that situation because you've got the emotions, you've got the peer pressure, you've got the fear of judgment, I guess, from others. But actually, I've still yet to this day ever met a successful business owner, entrepreneur, salesperson, sports star that's not had things go wrong, you know. Yeah. And it's really quite refreshing. So I'm not trying to blow smoke and I'm not trying to sound like a massive fanboy, but what you've done with Hortons, you are a big brand now. You're a big name. I know a lot of people know you by face, name and services. And to hear that actually it's not just right. Woke up one day, started a business, and I'm here. There's a journey.
Yeah, and I think we've got a bit of an issue in the country as a whole around failure. I think in terms of the way people view it, and you hear that most people probably heard other people talk about the culture around failure in like the US and their attitude towards entrepreneurship versus here, and it's there's a really negative culture around people like celebrating people's failures, and people like I remember once we had we got a bit of a slap on the wrist from HMRC for some basically I hadn't joined a register that we needed, a form that needed to be filled in when I started the business, and then that caught up with us and they gave us a fine a few years later, and the Leicester Mercury picked up on it, and we ended up having a post on Leicestershire Live that ended up getting like, I don't know, 100 plus, a couple of hundred comments, and people love to hate estate agents, so I'll let them have that, but almost it was there was a few people that seemed to understand that these ups and downs are part and parcel of business, and then others that were going typical estate agents. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of opened my eyes to it a little bit, because I think in other cultures there's more of an appreciation for just like, this is the way that business goes, and there's ups and downs, and you don't do everything right, and it's run by humans, and when people don't go, you're not celebrating the fact someone tried. There's more often than not people go, I knew that wasn't going to work. Do you know what I mean? And so something that now I'm especially, again, coming back to the idea of having kids, another thing that's changed my perception on is making sure that they go into the world with knowing it's okay to fail, and so I think our conversation around failure should change, because I think it will make it, a lot of the time people don't go and do things and don't take risk because they're worried about the reaction from other people, and it's not the fear of maybe having to get a job again if something goes wrong. It's not the fear of like losing a bit of money, because there's ups and downs, and you get back on your feet and you sort yourself out. But the main thing that stops people from trying is often it's what their friends are going to think. It's what your mum and dad are going to say, and that is I think probably the most detrimental thing to our culture around enterprise and entrepreneurship. That hopefully people talking more openly about it, because you're right, I've never met anyone who's been successful in business that hasn't had a whole series of failures. But what I have met people that are just not willing to talk about it. And I think what is quite refreshing with this podcast, and why I was excited to come on, is because I think the more people that are open about it and open about their mistakes and stuff, perhaps the more willing people are to go, oh, like, I don't need to be worried about it, because that happens to everyone. So I think it's a great initiative, and hopefully, it can, what you're doing can help change people's perceptions.
Thank you very much.
The goal.
There's a sound bite right there. Make a note, Molly, make a note. Yeah, no, thank you. And look, that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
So you're on to bigger, good things now. You've got the Agents Journal. Is that correct? So
we started, obviously we have agents that come and join us as self-employed agents, and so we started a website, a newsletter that produces content to help people on that journey, not just with people joining us, but in the industry as a whole, to look for advice and guidance about how to make that change. So it is a bit of like a side project, and something that we're taking quite a long-term view on. So at the moment we're just doing a weekly newsletter, but want to probably start a podcast with that one day, kind of one step at a time with that. And then outside of Hortons, we've got a few other businesses that for example, we've got a mortgage brokerage and commercial finance that all kind of feeds into our kind of ecosystem around property. We've got a content studio for house builders, so we produce marketing campaigns for new build developments and all that kind of stuff. We've got a company that does energy performance certificates for houses that are coming on the market, and a company that helps self-employed estate agents progress their sales with solicitors. So we've got a few things going on, but it's all feeds into the property business, really.
Amazing.
Nice. So, I mean, a bunch of incredible services there, and we will link everything for you in the show notes. So people are definitely going to be wanting to get in touch with you. So what's their sort of best way to do that?
Probably the best thing is Instagram, just at Adam Horton, and on there you'll see the links to the other businesses as well if they want to check that out. But yeah, other than that, Hortons.co is the website, and it is just .co.
Yeah,
and I have to say that every time I say the website. And we always laugh in the office because when everyone calls up asking for an email address, you can always hear everyone say, it is just .co. So we're thinking to make that into a tagline.
Maybe, just co. Just co.
Hortons.co.
Thanks so much for joining us, mate.
Absolutely.
I think, you've been a great guest and a great support of our business over the years. So I really appreciate you coming in, and we're looking forward to seeing the next steps, and hopefully we can come down and see your podcast at some time, and it'd be good to be a part of
happen.
it. Exactly. No, thanks so much, and thank you to you for watching or listening, of course, however you're taking in this content. As always, it's a pleasure to produce these for you. Just do us a quick favor, would you? Can you please hit the follow button, give us a like, share it with at least 3 to 4 people that you know. It does really, really help. Of course, if you want to be a guest on our show, how can they do that, Sophia?
They can either send us a DM on any of our socials. We are How I Failed in Business just about anywhere. Or you can send us an email to howifailedinbusiness@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd love to have more guests. And of course, if you've got some anonymous stories you want to share with us, send those over as well. We won't share any names. It may slip out, but we'll bleep it out as well. But thank you so much for watching. Remember, our podcasts come out every Tuesday and Friday. I've been Rob Spence.
I've been Sophia Grace.
Until next time, all the best.
Bye.